It's been a big year for plastics-related policy, innovation, and American manufacturing. From AI to breakthrough ideas, we're reshaping how to make and reuse materials. I'm bringing back the backbone of many of the stories we've covered this year. Ross Eisenberg, president of America's Plastic Makers, joins us now to talk more about the year we've had and the year ahead. I'm Mia Quinn, and this is Sustainably Speaking. Ross, here we are. It's been a year. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming back.
Always fun.
2025, it's been a big year. It's been a big year for sustainability, for policy, for innovation. What's something big from this year that you think that just didn't get enough attention?
So in the plastics world, I think one of the biggest things that I personally saw, and I know you personally saw, that hasn't gotten enough attention is, one of our member companies, Nova Chemicals, opened a gigantic mechanical recycling facility in Connorsville, Indiana, just outside of Indianapolis. And so it's mechanical recycling, which is regular, traditional recycling. You grind it up, you melt it, you make new plastic out of it. And they're doing it for bags. So the flexible films, the stuff that typically doesn't get recycled, they're doing
the stuff that you're wrapping stuff in,
exactly.
The shopping bags, that like flexible.
Exactly. And they have a distribution system to get it there. The facility is gigantic. It's an old manufacturing facility that the manufacturer left, and it was just open and empty, and the town was kind of built around it and was suffering. And now they're bringing in all these new jobs, this new technology, all this kind of stuff. They're recycling bags, which is, most of us assume they don't get recycled, and now they're showing that you can do it, and you can do it economically, and you can do it at a large scale.
It was so impressive to see. It's brands we know, like, oh, that shopping bag and that shopping bag and that shipping pouch that I receive almost every day, maybe. All the stuff that I know I need to dispose of properly, and it's something good is happening to it.
The reality of it is Connorsville, that facility is literally taking the bags from those facilities, from the places where if you go back and you take your shopping bag back to the big box store and put it in that bin, they're getting it from that bin and they're recycling it at places like that and elsewhere. So it's really awesome to see the system work the way that it was designed.
There's a lot of myths about plastics. It's 2026. What myth are we retiring?
That recycling doesn't work. Recycling works. I've seen it 100 million times. It works. That is not the issue. Regular recycling works. We just talked about it for bags. It works for the rigid kind of plastics that we typically send there. On the advanced recycling side, we can take all of the other things, right? Like the vast majority of the other things, the styrofoam, the flexible pouches, the films, all those things, they can be recycled. I've seen them be recycled. Yeah. So it's not a technology problem. We have the technology. Unfortunately, there are people out there that it's just too convenient to kind of say the negative, but it's not true. Recycling works.
You released a study this year on jobs and economic impact. Can you tell us some highlights and what that study found?
We tend to talk about recycling, as we should, for the environmental impacts and the environmental benefits, which are many, right? Not sending stuff to landfills, not putting in the environment. Recycling helps with all of those things. And that is great to talk about. There's an economic side of this thing that we rarely talk about. And so we asked our economists here at ACC, okay, if we could take 50% of the plastics that are being sent to landfills and we recycled that instead, what would be the economic impact of that? And the numbers are quite big, right? Because you're creating a lot of jobs throughout the economy. Manufacturing jobs tend to be, frankly, big job multipliers, so big job engines. You're not just creating one job, you're creating all kinds of jobs around that job, the other pieces of the puzzle, the local restaurants and the things like that. So if you took 50% of the plastics that are otherwise going to landfills and you recycled them, our numbers are that you would create 173,000 jobs, $48.7 billion in economic output, so close to $50 billion with a B, another $12.8 billion in payroll. It is a significant economic driver. So to put that in perspective, it's like taking the milk industry and then having another one. Like you literally are creating the milk industry again just by scaling up recycling. And these are all kinds of jobs, right? I mean, it is not only the shop floor kind of job. These are municipal jobs. These are public, jobs.
Right. So it's not just good for the environment. It's good for the economy, both. And that's always a winner. Okay, so 2025 was also huge for innovation. If we look back, like AI, it probably didn't come out of nowhere, but to me, it just seemed to come out of nowhere and it came on strong. Where are we seeing like the biggest leaps forward? Is it like design? Is it technology? Is it sorting? But I also want to hear from our listeners. So drop in the comments like any new technologies that you're seeing in manufacturing that you're excited about, and we'll see if we can work it into a future episode.
Yep. So a couple off the top of my head. Sortation is a really good example of it. One of the weirder things that people don't realize is that black plastic tends to have trouble with optical sorters because they just don't think it's there. And so if it's black plastic, they tend to not see it. And so the newer ones can. But again, this is an area where some of the newer technology and AI and things like that will really, really help.
All right, let's talk policy. That's sort of your sweet spot, right? We talk about a lot about mass balance. I'm saying those two words, and I'm worried our listeners are I'm going to lose our listeners. So we'll pause there. I promise listeners, stick with us. But when it comes to sustainability, but mass balance is kind of tricky to understand or even listen to. So help people understand this in simple terms.
Yeah. So when you buy coffee or chocolate and it has the fair trade label on it, and it says that it is 50% fair trade sourced coffee or chocolate, what that means is it doesn't mean that 50% of that chocolate bar or 50% of that bag of beans are specifically traceable back to the fair trade grower. What it means is that the manufacturer of that product took in 50% of its raw material as fair trade.
Okay.
And then essentially made everything out of it. So half of it was virgin, half of it was the fair trade, or not virgin, but the non-fair trade. And you can do that with plastic too. And so that's what mass balance is. That's why mass balance matters to us as we try to integrate more sustainable content into our chain.
When you go into talk to certain policymakers, is there a myth?
There's a number of them. I feel like I'm partly advocate for our industry and partly mythbuster some of the time. The other one that we run into quite a bit on advanced recycling is that it is burning of plastic, that you're just incinerating this plastic, which again, both from a legal standpoint, but more importantly from a scientific and factual standpoint, is not true. If you are going to incinerate plastic, if you're going to turn it into ash, right, you're literally getting rid of it. We're not doing that. We're taking it back down to its building blocks, to its elements, to make it into new plastic. That is the opposite of incineration. And I find myself having to go through this again and again and again and again. And this is the reality of it. When you want to attack something, it can generally be, we see this on social media all the time.
Just say it.
You just say it, right? And then people hear it, and then it kind of sticks. And then we wind up in, we try to, one of my former colleagues likes to say that we often, when we're going into state capitals, tend to go into a knife fight armed with a white paper. And I feel like that is what we do sometimes, right? Like, they're waving the knife around and we're like, well, let me tell you about mass balance. Let me tell you about science. But it's what we got to do. So
let's talk about the states too, because policy is not just federal, it's state. And there's a lot of states experimenting with a lot of different recycling policies. Let's start here again with another basic EPR. We throw this term around.
Yeah. So EPR stands for Extended Producer Responsibility. And what it means is you have these products that have a life, and then you have to figure out what to do with them. And
when their life's over.
When their life is over. It imposes essentially an additional responsibility on that product, right? So they're going to integrate a fee that will essentially go back into the system to help fix the choke points in the recycling system so that that package ultimately gets back into the system and gets recycled and doesn't wind up in the landfill.
Okay, that's a great explanation. So there's some states that are doing it really well. Are there good examples?
So there are 7 states that currently have those EPR laws in place, extended producer responsibility. I'll try to do it off the top of my head. So California, Maryland, Minnesota, Washington, Oregon, that's 5. What am I missing here? Colorado is 6. And Maine. That's 7. And they're all still in, frankly, early stages. They're still kind of setting up the systems in a lot of these places. The ones that we think are going to, frankly, be a little bit more functional are the ones that are a lot more flexible. Here's a really good example of why. So in Oregon right now, they are implementing their law, and the lubricant industry, so motor oil, right? Their products are largely jugs that are very recyclable. The problem is the lubricant inside is not necessarily the kind of thing that you can recycle, right?
Because it's like you can't just rinse it off so easily.
It's corrosive, it's motor oil, it's got a lot of chemicals in it. If you sent that to a mechanical recycler, just washing it may not get all the stuff off. So it is a perfect candidate for advanced recycling.
Oh.
Except that Oregon, the law was written in such a way that it doesn't ban advanced recycling, but it makes it real difficult. And so they don't know what to do. And so right now, their best idea is literally to put it on a truck and send it to Atlanta.
From Oregon.
From Oregon. And as you might imagine, that raises the costs. The manufacturers not thrilled about paying that cost. It is the least efficient way to get there. If they had just been a little bit more flexible and said, hey, we can allow ourselves to work with technologies that will maybe allow something to be done in Idaho or in Washington or maybe in Oregon to solve this problem, they wouldn't have the problem. So less prescriptive is good. More flexibility is good. It's going to be a process here. The states that I mentioned earlier that tend to be a little bit more flexible, we think are going to be more successful, particularly early on.
What's the biggest thing Washington could do right now to help recycling?
Pass a federal law of some sort, either through executive action or through Congress passing a law that would declare advanced recycling as manufacturing. Pennsylvania, Ohio, Georgia, Texas. And as I look at the map of the new starts and where things are going, it's going to those states. So when people always ask me, and including members of Congress who've said, hey, what can you do? What can I do to fix this? I say that law should be the law of the land everywhere because it's clearly working. It has cleared the way and removed some regulatory barriers, and the market is responding.
We all have the goals that we're setting for 2026. Like, what's a realistic goal that you think we can actually achieve as an industry in the new year?
It's my New Year's resolution. Well, selfishly, but also because I think it's the right thing and we as an organization want to see it. I would love to be able to sit here a year from now and say that we helped get a final global plastics treaty or agreement through the UN and signed by the end of next year. There's a chance we could get there. We're a lot closer than I think the media gives us credit for. There's still some big issues to be worked out. We've been at this for a number of years, but we are close. And I believe that if negotiators can spend the next 6 months really rolling up their sleeves and having the negotiations that need to happen, we can get an agreement done. And it would be a huge win for us.
And probably for the globe.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's close to 3 billion people who don't have access to basic waste infrastructure. This will help solve that problem. A global treaty would be really just a sea change on this issue.
I hope that's achievable.
I hope so, too.
Well, let's start with the fun.
All right.
Start with the last show or podcast you binged.
So let me just start this whole thing by saying that that I'm a total weirdo. The last show I actually binged was the show that I watched the most, which is Dr. Pimple Popper.
What?
So Dr. Pimple Popper is a dermatologist in California who is known for bringing in people with these just absolute atrocities, right? Like horrible skin conditions, things like that. And these people have been suffering their whole lives and things like that. And the remedy is always the same. Let me just pop it. And then she does. And then their whole life is dramatically better. And in this, there are thousands of episodes of these, and it is fantastic. And it's just a great show.
All right, let's go to Spotify. Last song you played on your, whatever your streaming service may be.
The last song I played was Spotify. It'd be Mariah Carey, Heartbreaker.
Oh.
Which is her best song by far.
I'd say Always Be My Baby, but okay.
Nope, this one's better, but it's close.
Okay, what about before that? Or let's say maybe the most you listened to in 2025.
So let me just preface this by saying I am a 48-year-old man in the middle of a midlife crisis from New Jersey. So it is a healthy mix of like hair bands and like K-pop and Taylor Swift. So
K-pop.
There's a lot there.
K-pop.
Yeah, of course. So I went to Korea for work actually in late 2024. And since I was in Korea for a couple of weeks, I made a point of only listening to K-pop. Then I started to like it because it's really good.
It's catchy.
Yeah. And so I just kind of kept going. And I guess that bled into 2025.
Oh, well, I love Golden. Like, I can't stop listening to it. All right.
No judgment.
Who's going to the Super Bowl?
Who's going to the Super Bowl this year? So Eagles and Patriots. I'm a huge Eagles fan. I think they're going to get it together. And I think we're going to have a redo of 2017 and the Eagles will beat the Patriots again.
Let's see how that ages.
I'm sure it'll be spot on.
Okay. What's your guilty pleasure TV show, if you have one?
So So I love reality shows where there's like contests, but nobody wins. Everybody loses, right? Like, so like the dating show where like they're testing their relationship, but it's not going to work and they all break up. Like, I love that stuff. So, there was an old show, I don't think they have it anymore, called Temptation Island. Do you remember that one?
Yeah.
And so
I didn't watch it, but
I watched every single episode. And they bring like 4 couples onto, I think it's Hawaii. They bring them to an island and they split them up and they put them in a house full of like absolutely beautiful people to test their relationship. And within 10 minutes, it's over, right? Like it's over for every single one of them. And by the end of the first episode, every single one of them is usually on camera in the room going, I didn't think there'd be this much temptation. Well, you went on a show called Temptation Island. Like, of course there's this much temptation. So anyway, I can't get enough of that stuff. It fascinates me why anybody would go do it. Walk
with lions or swim with sharks?
Swim with sharks. I swam with sharks a week and a half ago.
What?
So my son and I both got scuba certified. So a week and a half ago, we went down to the Bahamas and did a couple scuba dives. And then one of them was a shark dive, which is completely reckless and really stupid. It's it's just, you're literally swimming with sharks. There's no cage, there's no anything. And we made it. You kneel on the ground along with the other people on the shark dive. And a guy, the tour guy, comes in full chainmail with like chunks taken out of it and stuff like that with a box of chum. And the sharks then just go crazy and attack. And he essentially feeds the sharks from the box. And it's like 40 of them, like just all swarming around you. And they move the box around the circle to each person that's kneeling on the ground. And the sharks basically feed like on top of you.
God.
And so they knock into you and it's, they're sharks, right? So they act like sharks. Very, very weird. We survived.
And you're fine. You're here. You're unscathed. That's great.
I got all my fingers and toes.
Whew.
I'm good.
What's the last thing you recycled?
So my daughter is in college in New York City. And I made the mistake of going into her closet and cleaning it out.
Oh.
And found all of her contraband.
Oh.
So I recently recycled those as well.
Oh.
Except for the full bottles, which I will be drinking.
Wow.
Yeah.
She just got outed
on
our podcast. And that is a wrap. Thank you so much, Ross. Thank you, Ross's family, for your good humor. And thanks for being here today.
Of course, my pleasure.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of Sustainably Speaking. Before you go, I need your help. Who do you want to see next in the hot seat? If you have innovators, policymakers, entrepreneurs, or people making a more sustainable future, drop your ideas in the comments. And who knows, maybe we'll have them on the show. I'm Mia Quinn. I'll see you next time on Sustainably Speaking.